Hello, this is Don with the DIY Collaborative. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to go over how to remove those pesky popcorn ceilings if you happen to have those in your home. Stay tuned for some neat tips and tricks. Appreciate you stopping by. Alright, if you have a popcorn ceiling, you probably know what they look like already, but this is an example of one of the rooms that we'll be working on, and here it is with the light fixture removed, and we've just put a temporary light in place. You're going to need some painter's tape, some sort of a drop cloth, and these are just the ones that I prefer to use, and I'm not using this as an actual drop cloth. I'm using these to cordon off the room so the dust and debris doesn't get into the other adjacent rooms. I prefer to use a cardboard box to catch my debris. This is also a drywall knife. You'll also need a standard garden sprayer. You don't need anything fancy. This is an example of a 1-gallon sprayer. And you'll also need some sort of a trash can, box, trash bag, something to put the popcorn that you're scraping off in when you're done. Here I'm just showing you the rooms that have been taped off with the drop cloths, and I'm doing this simply to keep the dust and debris out of the adjacent rooms. I want to start off by spraying down the popcorn ceiling with warm water in your garden sprayer. And you don't want to get this dripping necessarily, but you do want it to be, fairly good and wet. And you can tell if it's too wet by, just observing the areas that you've already gone over. And depending on the size of your room or your project, you may want to go ahead and spray the entire ceiling. And don't be afraid, and you'll see this later in the video, that you may have to stop and come back and apply more water to make sure that it's, saturated good. Again, you don't want this too wet, but you'll be able to tell once you start scraping if it's actually wet enough or not. What I suggest doing is starting out with a small putty knife at first and test the area that you spray down with water to make sure that it's ready to be scraped off. And you'll be able to tell. And in this video, it's not really wet enough, but I'm showing you here the broad knife that I actually use in some of the rooms if you're doing a large area. And you can see that I'm having to apply a good amount of pressure, and it's not really scraping off. So what really needs to happen here, and you may find this when you're doing it as well, that you need to come back and apply a little bit more water. You don't want to scrape too deep because you don't want to remove the paper off of the drywall. And again, you'll be able to tell. You don't want to do any more damage than necessary either, because then that'll be more that you have to repair. Okay, we reapplied water and we let it set for a few minutes longer, anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes. It just depends again on the size of your room and how much water is needed. But you can see here that the popcorn is coming off much easier. And again, this is just how I prefer to do it. I use a box that I've cut down and just catch, the majority of the droppings that I can and dump them in a waste receptacle of some type. And again, be careful. You don't want to remove the paper or, make any gouges in the actual drywall, because that'll be something that you have to come back and repair later. And here I'm just showing you how I occasionally dump some of my debris into a trash receptacle and move it out to my trash pickup. Okay, here's a clip of the immediate finished area. And you can see how it's still pretty damp in some areas. So before you do anything else to this, I recommend that you allow it to dry, maybe even overnight. If need be, place a fan blowing up on the area so it can help expedite the drying time. But as you can see, it didn't make a whole lot of debris and dust. I was able to catch that because the popcorn was damp as it came off, and I was able to capture it. Next, I'm just showing you some of the damage that was revealed after removing the popcorn, and these are both some areas that will require some attention. Here is the next morning showing you after it's dried, and I've still got a good amount of work to do. I've got to repair all of the areas that were previously where nails or screws were used to actually hang the drywall with. And you can see that in these pictures. And once that's done, there will also be some sanding. Here is a pass with one coat of Kills primer, just showing you kind of the difference in what it looks like with the popcorn actually removed. And by no means am I finished yet, but this is just kind of giving me a good idea of you know, how it's going to look. And again, how smooth you get this is up to your personal preference, but you know, I like to try to make it look good because, you know, other people are going to see it, and you just want your project to look good, and you want to be proud of your work. Thanks for stopping by the DIY Collaborative. We've provided some helpful information in the description, including some links that you may want to check out. Please give us your feedback, ask questions, and let us know what you think in the comments section. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing, and be sure to check out our other do-it-yourself videos. And don't forget to hit that like button.